The Nike Zoom Fly 5 versus the Puma Deviate Nitro 2. Which one of these is your better daily carbon plate trainer? Let's compare and contrast and decide for ourselves. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, if you're subscribed to watching content. Thanks so much, love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other updates and things of that sort. So without further ado, let's begin. Specs up here for the shoe. And instead of just talking about the specs individually for each shoe, I think we'll just get right into some of the differences between both of them, and then I'll just link each individual review for the shoes that I have at their first impressions and things like that, I guess in the description somewhere there below, or somewhere where it's easy to find. So a couple things to note, of course, right off the rip with these things. Daily carbon plate trainers. This has always been a big thing since at least 2018, 2019. Became really big, I think, in 2020, 21. And the reuse of carbon plate foams, or shoes that are associated with like carbon plate training and the foams associated with them, have started being reused, and that's kind of some of the marketing associated with the shoes. And that brings us to why the Zoom Fly 5 is a strange daily trainer in our lineup. So we'll kick off again with the older of the two shoes. This one came out approximately last year, if I don't mistaken. I think this was like 2023 I bought this thing. But anyways, main things about this shoe worth noting. We do have a 41 millimeter heel, 33 millimeter forefoot, if I'm not mistaken, which gives us the 8 millimeter offset. Very high stack shoe overall, as you can probably guess. We do have just some ZoomX foam running the entire duration of the shoe, but it's a reused compound, as you could probably see here in the middle of the shoe. And then we just have pretty much a dense mesh upper in the toe box area, some looseness kind of in the center of the shoe, and then again more tough mesh kind of in the heel as well. And the big things about this shoe, as I remember them while training and running in this thing, is that the shoe itself had a pretty decent ride, but there was a couple of issues that I think I noticed later on with the shoe. Actually, very early on with the shoe, and then some other things that came on later. One of the things that was tricky early on is that the shoe was extremely stiff. The carbon plate in the shoe with the foam combination and possibly the rubber tread that's on the shoe, the whole thing just made the shoe extraordinarily stiff, and you had to really drill into this thing if you wanted it to perform at its highest level. So that may be something about the ZoomX compound that's being used, whether the reused is not nearly as, flexible, as responsive as a brand new compound. That could be an argumentative case for the shoe in this case. It could be the mesh as well. It could just be the way the shoe strikes. There's a lot of things that make the shoe stiff at first, and that causes an issue for a lot of people who want to run in a carbon plate shoe but don't get the full experience in a daily trainer platform. Now, we understand it's not necessarily a race shoe. The price point for the shoe doesn't make it nearly as competitive as something that you would spend $200, $250+ on. But that being said, you kind of have to sacrifice a few things on this shoe in order to particularly enjoy it. Now, later on while I was running in this shoe, of course the ride improved overall, but the two things that really broke down here was that the tread on the shoe just started wearing in places where I was typically running from. I think we have a better look at it here on my right foot. And then the second piece was that this textile on the shoe started kind of eating into, I guess, the top arch of my foot, and it was just like pain points that were very oddly specific. I don't know why this was the case, whether it was like the shoe is tying a certain way, the textile mesh just on the bottoms just has like a ball kind of sensation that drills into the arch, but it became uncomfortable after a long period of time, and just as a result, I wasn't really into the shoe at that point. Now, if I recall my videos correctly, or my historical analysis of the shoe, one of two things probably happened. One, the shoe got past 200+ miles, and maybe over time just the ride wasn't where I needed it to be, so I just retired the shoe from the lineup. The wear here was just more than enough for me to be like, all right, fine, and this is hurting my right peroneal tendon, as I've historically have hurt in these bulkier Nike shoes, so I just kind of called it quits at that point. Now, with the Puma Deviate Nitro 2, This is a relatively new shoe in my lineup, but again, as I bring it in here, it is because it's a daily carbon plate trainer from a different brand that I'm experimenting with, and of course came from your guys' recommendations to give this a spin, so why not, right? Let's definitely talk about this thing. So, main specs to note about this shoe is that the shoe does have a 36, it's a 32 millimeter heel and a 26 millimeter forefoot, giving it that 6 millimeter offset. So stack height, comparatively, it's almost more mid than it is to this higher stack. So it's, I guess the normal runner would still consider this a high stack daily trainer, but it is significantly lower than the Zoom Fly 5. So if you like something that's more to the ground and feels a little bit more natural, the Puma might be the better choice in this case, if that's like your single issue on shoes. But yeah, so anyways, we do have two different Nitro foam styles on the shoe as well. We do have that Nitro Elite that runs on the top, and then we have a second foam here, which is like the standard Nitro, just for the heel to give it a little bit more of a protection, a little bit more of a responsiveness out of it, so that kind of ends up being really nice. And the foam isn't recycled or anything like that. This is just, I guess, at least the way it's marketed, this is like brand new Nitro Elite that's on the shoe. Nothing's particularly recycled. And the other things we do have that's different is that the tread on the shoe is not necessarily as road racy as I've seen on previous shoes. And then again, like the Zoom Fly 5, this shoe pattern is a lot more to the ground and not necessarily grip. It's more road grip and more, I guess, like aero than it is if you were to run on a trail. Not to say you couldn't run with this on a trail, but I don't think the rubber is nearly as designed as something like this, which I think gives you a little bit more grip and a more, I think, all-around versatility besides the road. Does this hurt the speed of the shoe? I don't necessarily think so. But that's just something, again, worth considering as you run with this particular shoe. There's some things I'll discuss in a 50-mile review when the time comes, but we'll get there when the time comes, right? Other things to note, again, the mesh upper, super thin. I would say the textile on the shoe is really well balanced, and I don't think there's anything unusual. The gusseted tongue is also a nice feature. The shoe kind of fits well overall. So, just getting into the big question right away as soon as possible. If you had to choose between the two shoes, which direction should you go? Which one should you buy? What's my recommendation? Let's lay it down like this. You guys kind of know my opinion on the Nike product since at least 2021, 22 in terms of daily trainer product. I'm not particularly happy with it. I'm not happy with the direction the shoe is going, where just the materials are more recycled. They're built a little cheaper. I don't know if this is a manufacturing thing that's going on with the shoe or some kind of process that's changing, but I'm not particularly happy with it, and I wasn't happy with it in the Zoom Fly 5 at all. That being said, when starting to explore other brands like Adidas, Asics, Puma, I've been running in Hoka's also before, but that's not like new to me, but I digress. I'm seeing that the quality of those shoes is at a level that's higher than what I remember Nike being at. So as Nike was declining in their manufacturing style, in my opinion, this one is kind of consistent, like better. You know what I mean? So there you go. I'm playing airplanes with my shoes, right? Cool. So anyways, the point there is that everything on this shoe is riding a lot better than what is on the Zoom Fly 5. And if you had brand loyalty, man, I don't know. I wouldn't say, like, don't buy the Nike, but it's like also, it's just not a good shoe that's representative of Nike, in my opinion, in terms of daily trainers. Like, they could have done so much better. They could have redesigned this thing not to be, like, so clunky, so noisy. And then the reuse of the foam for, like, you know, price cut or, like, price gain to market as a Zoom X kind of thing. It kind of sucks, but, you know, you just have this huge stack of foam that even if you're like an elite racer, you can't even use because it breaks the laws for running, I guess, in certain race organizations where the heel has to be below 40 millimeters and if it's 41, whatever. So, in terms of ride and drive, I like the Puma Deviate Nitro a lot better than the Zoom Fly 5's ride. And in terms of braking in a shoe and shoe with a lot more comfort, I'm leaning towards the Nitro again. And that's mostly, again, at about 50 miles in the shoe compared to 200, where I'm coming up with this opinion. So if I take this thing to 200 plus miles and my opinion changes, you know, we'll re-release, we'll discuss again when the time comes. But At this point, if you had to absolutely choose between both shoes, including price points when they were in the market brand new, I would lean with the Puma Deviate Nitro 2 at this time. So if you agree or disagree with this assessment, let me know in the comments below. If you have any other questions related to the two shoes in terms of the rides, or you have an experience with both of them, do you hate Nike's product as much as I do right now? Besides the racing product, we still like the Vaporfly and the newest Alpha Fly and the first Alpha Fly. Those are the ones that we're pretty cool with. So all that aside, I think that's all I've got for now. We'll have some more discussions about the Puma as we go forward, because this thing is hot and in my lineup for some of the races that are upcoming for me this year. So I'll leave this here for now. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.